Now they can both argue until they're blue in the face and seeing red. What both of them miss is if you mix those perspectives, you find the purple in the middle, because it's very important to see how you're inside the mind-made prison. This reality, all of this takes place inside your consciousness. How can you be the voice in your head when you are obviously that which listens to it? Walk with me for a moment and tell me if anything that I have to say sounds familiar. There are two people arguing. One of them is saying that it's A, B, C, and the other one is saying that it's X, Y, Z. Now they can both argue until they're blue in the face and seeing red. What both of them miss is if you mix those perspectives, you find the purple in the middle. And once you get into this magical zone, you exist in the state that I call being centered in self. Now, you have to step in to somebody else's world in order to lead them out of it. This takes a level of empathy. Empathy comes from the chest. And this is why I say, people without it, they've lost the path and are empty. Now, if you look online, most comment sections attest to this, because people are furiously yelling about this, that, and how their view was correct, and anyone who is against them is an infidel. And that builds the world that we're in. The mission of the Will Help Me project is to change the game. Quite literally flip it on its head. And for that, you've got to be willing to lose the programming that's in here and come down to here. This is where inner sense dwells. This is the key to everything. I mean, look at your own life. Actually, read the article that I've pinned below and then come back to the vid, because that goes into more detail in it. But in a nutshell, look into your life and you'll notice that there are many repeating conflicts. You know, where you're literally saying the same thing again and again and again. Now that is the very definition of madness, because it's like going out and buying some mince, some onions, some chili and some oil, sticking it in a pan, slaving away in the kitchen, lifting the lid with a grin, and then feeling sad and disgusted because you ain't got rice pudding. Now, if someone questions this script, where obviously the map is not matching the territory, and neither it is the territory, because that's all to do with your internal OS. If somebody else says, well, look, why don't you go and actually buy the bits that you need? This is junk, this is crap, you don't need this, what's the point? People will cling to their delusions, because that's how belief systems and coping mechs change. Actually, that's another article I'm going to pin for you to read, because it's very important to see how you're inside the mind-made prison. This reality, all of this takes place inside your consciousness. Once you grasp this simple fact, it becomes exceedingly obvious that you are interacting with projections. Ergo, you have never met a stranger. People are just showing you your best and your worst. Do you see why I've said that there's no strangers and there's no enemies? Because if you look at every single person as a teacher instead, you can step up your game. You can improve your own resonance. People who don't comprehend this, they are truly prisoners of their own consciousness. And that's why life will keep on presenting the exact same situations until you raise up, shift the perspective, take the same variables. I mean, look at the word create and react. Exactly the same components, but it's a different arrangement. That's the difference between, say, Shakespeare and Pulp Fiction. One is legendary and the rest is just cheap crap that was thrown off the shelf for everyone to read for a bit of titillation. That is exactly how the game works. Now, the thing that I told you about this red, blue and purple is that point in the middle is a state that I call being centered in self. And once you are centered in self, you realize that everyone else can be as well. And that's how a rising tide of consciousness lifts all ships of awareness. People who don't do this, people who've been trained via the system to seek authority and power outside of them, they're lost. That's the 81%. They're so plugged into the matrix that the alternative scares them to death. But if they actually stop to ponder, if you are an infinite being that is pure consciousness at your essence, which is currently wrapped in the flesh in this dimension, what is there to fear? The thing that's scared is that construct in your head. This is what I call adulteration. Nobody possesses it when they step in this realm. We all come in with inner sense. There is no child who is not confident, who is not overflowing with radiance, who asks a truckload of questions and wants to make up their own mind. This gets drilled out of them really, really quick. And this rigidity can be mapped, not just in the flesh, but in the mind as well. I'll give you an example. There was a couple that was always arguing, and they were really happy and everything else, but they hated this. The woman simply wouldn't change, and the man said, look, I've had enough of this. We did a few things, he did the knowledge, And once he started learning how to shift his frequency, shift his resonance, in order to be able to become transparent. So what she was saying passes through with nothing to hit. There's nothing to reflect back. There's no sound of one hand clapping. He then delved and said, where else did you remember feeling like this? Because the level of emotion that you're displaying does not match what's happening right here. And his woman was receptive, because she saw that he was genuine and coming from the chest and definitely wanted to change it. No people like arguing. Nobody wants to do this. If you could say happy words, you'd say happy words. She delved into her own awareness and goes, well, this is what happened back when. They talked about it. Bang. That pattern was diffused. They never, ever had that fight again. Both of them were changed. These are the benefits of doing the knowledge, because if you change your mind, you can change the world. And enough of us get on this wavelength, we can change this whole game. There'll be no more need for pain and all this kind of stuff. It's all about knowing who you are, knowing the opponent in your head that's telling you these things. I mean, let me give you an example. How can you be the voice in your head when you are obviously that which listens to it? Now that is a deeper topic, but we're going to get into that later on. This is the introduction to a new season I call Adventure. Till we meet again. Game of Souls has you, my friend.